So in this video, we're going to be showing you some of the features of Linkray. So to access the Linkray, we're going to be going through the web portal. So this web portal is connected to any of the Linkrays which have internet access. So I've logged onto this and I can see these three Linkrays on my account. These Linkrays, I can then click on any of these and it will take me through to the web interface of the actual device. If it's remote or if it's on the same network, it doesn't matter as long as it's connected to the internet. So I can then log into the device itself. And as soon as I'm in, I can then go through the info screen and I can see the device name, I can see uptimes, I can see the amount of power that's currently being used by charge stations, the power that's used at a site level. So this is configured to be 120 amps per phase, 360 amps in total for the site. And it's got the kilowatt power here as well. I've got the information about the charge stations shown here. So we've got quite a complicated setup here. So we've got a number of different groups. So this is where we're saying that a number of chargers have a limit of a particular group. So this one here has 64 amps in the top group. It has a middle group, which is 64 amps, but there's no chargers in it. A ground one, which again 64 amps and it has one single charger in it. And then we've got a number of unassigned chargers. These are chargers outside of any groups currently. So these chargers show that they're charging. So there's a couple here that are charging. They're being offered 32 amps per phase. So they're using 32 amps, 96 in total when you add up the phases. Another one here. So these are 22 kilowatt three-phase chargers. Now, if we go into the chargers section here, what you'll see is these are the chargers that we have, and they're configured to be single phase here. If a single phase charger, you can then configure which phase it's on and the amount of power that it's per charger. If this was a DC charger, you would be setting this to three phase, you'd be setting this to watts, and you'd be typing in, say, 50 kilowatt would be expressed like that. For AC chargers, you specify them in single phase or three phase, and it's then specified in amps for the power. So these devices here are in different groups. So the groups work by creating a group and putting a limit on the group. So we have middle, top, and ground. It shows you the chargers that are connected on each of the groups. So that one's got two chargers in, that's got a single charger. If we want to move these chargers here, which are unassigned, into the middle group, we can either do them individually or you're allowed to select all of these and then change some of the attributes. So I'm going to change all of the attributes to being into the middle. So these are now connected into the middle. And if we go back into the info screen, what you'll see is that they've now been put under the group middle, and these four chargers are in there. These four chargers are all dual ones, so you can see that they've got one and two connectors. So that is now configured into that group. If we are interested in looking in the site configuration, as we go through this, you can have Linkray connected to a CSMS. So it will be passing all the messages from the chargers through to the CSMS. In this case, the CSMS will be doing authorization. It will be looking at billing and so forth. If we want to use Linkray standalone, we leave this blank as it is here now, and we say we'll allow charging whilst it's offline. If you have a CSMS, you would normally turn this off, so that it would only allow charging if it's authorized by the CSMS. If you are worried that the CSMS has an unreliable connection because of it's in an area that has poor cellular cover or similar, then you might want to enable this. And what this would do is Linkray would take over for authorization when the CSMS is not available. The configuration for this, as we're saying, is standalone. So we have the site set up to be 120 amps per phase. We have the polling interval that we're talking to the chargers. So we're getting information from the chargers every 10 seconds. Now we have a meter connected to this Linkray. So you can turn this off. So you could have Linkray assuming that this power is all to be used by chargers, or if you have an external meter, it will be reading the building usage of the power and reducing the amount that we've allowed for the site from the amount that's used by the building. So the building in this case is using 5 amps. Now, underneath the Modbus meter configuration, you can basically see some of the details of the configuration. It's really for debug information. There's a time zone part to this. So we've set Linkray up to be on London time, and we have a charging schedule here. So we can stop people from charging or allowing any charge between certain times. This is allowing charge for any times, but we could say, for instance, that between midnight and 6 in the morning, we don't allow charging. We could do this in the week, for instance, and add this into the schedule. And this blue section here is times when we're not allowing any charging. So this can be using the CSMS or not. This is really just limiting the load balancing to 0 between these times. We have the network settings in here, so you can have your Ethernet connection, you can have the Wi-Fi connection, and you can have the cellular modem connection. Under the administration side of things, we can push a firmware update to the device. We can use the automatic updates as well. So this will be polling this address for a firmware update for the Linkray, and we can put a time in here, so we can effectively say that we'll only check for updates between certain times. It won't allow applying a firmware update if there's actual charge sessions anyway. But this way we can have automatic updates of the Linkray, or we can have a manual update approach. There's some information down here about restarting different parts of the system, either at an OS level, service level, enabling debug logs, downloading logs for support purposes. The security aspect allows us to upload certificates to the Linkray for the browser so that we can log in using certificates. And we have 3 different levels of login. So we have an assembler, which is effectively an administrator. We have an installer that allows us to make changes to the actual chargers. And we have EV, which is more of a read-only for charge sessions. Under the debug, we have information in here about what's going on from a support point of view and the OCPP logs of the communications to the charger. The API section here allows us to have an external system using web APIs to Linkray to read the configuration blob using a JSON file. We have a read-only section, so we can have only for reading the configuration and the status, and we have another one for enabling write access as well. So we generate a key, which is then used to read and write the JSON blob, which is the whole configuration that the website you see here is actually using to pull information from the device. The assembler section is where we allow branding support. So you can upload a branding pack which changes the color scheme, changes the logos, changes the text of the device. We have a meter import configuration package file. So this is where we have an external meter, which is a Modbus or 485, and we have a list of the registers that we want to read out of the meter. So we can be sending down the configuration for a number of different meters through this. We have a license key, so the license for Linkrays allow up to a certain number of chargers connected. So in this case, we have a 32 license Linkray. We have 7 chargers that are connected. And we have 11 licenses used. And the reason for this is some of these are dual connectors. So these count as 2 licenses. So we have an 8 and a 32 license Linkray. If you have an 8 and you want to update this, you can get the new license file, put it in here. The remote server domain is to do with the remote services. So this number here represents the domain for my account. So each customer will have their own domain and all of their Linkrays will be on that domain. If you have a different account or you want to move this across, you can enter a different address into here. When we go back to the transaction side of things, we can actually have a list of the transactions that have happened on Linkray. So if you've got a CSMS or you haven't got a CSMS connected, this will actually allow you to download a log of transactions that have happened either today or a different week or a different month. You can put in a custom time. So you might want to use this for billing purposes, or you could use this for information about how the charges are being used. It gives you very quick access to being able to sort by charger, by RFID tag, by the energy used or duration. And you can download this as a CSMS, CSV file from the Linkray. Any devices that are trying to start transactions using RFID, which are rejected, will show up in this list here. So if we have Linkray working on its own and it has a whitelist enabled, then it will be looking for certain RFID tags to authorize for transactions. If you're using a RFID tag that is rejected, it will show up in this list. You can then add it into the whitelist, giving it a friendly name so that you can then manage this afterwards for removing selected whitelist items, clearing the whole whitelist. You can have a local RFID scanner, which if you have that on the Linkray, you can then present a number of RFID tags and it will allow you to then enter these into the whitelist very quickly as well. The whole whitelist can be imported and exported globally. So if you have a number of Linkray devices and you want them to have the same whitelist of RFID tags, you can export from one Linkray and import onto another. And that summarizes the main features of Linkray. Thank you for watching.